Ready.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Series of sutras which we're talking about. Anirvachaniyam Prema Swarupam Mukha Swatanavatu Prakashate Kwapi Patre Gunarahitam Kamanarahitam Pratikshana Vardhamanam Avichinna Sukshmataram Anubhavarupam. All these things are the experience of love, Prema Swarupam. Often people make it as Bhakti Swarupam and then it's about Parabhakti, etc. they say. But actually it is the and Parabhakti for the sake of God. This way that they bring about, but actually, love is born along with us, or we are the love ourselves. A child does not have any idea of what is called as God or what is no God. Child only knows about love. So therefore, he is talking about this love because at the point of consciousness, whatever that feeling is there, that's what is the first thing that develops is the feeling. That's what is love. I said last time also this simple idea that between the mind and the body, the bridge between the mind and the body is supposed to be mind and the body, the bridge is supposed to be prana. Whereas the consciousness and the mind, the bridge is supposed to be the feeling or the consciousness or the bhavana. That's what is where the bhavana comes from. Bhavana belongs to the consciousness. And from there, at that point of time, because at the consciousness level, there is nothing like gunas, etc. The division is not there. It's all one. Only one experience of one being of love that is there. But then later on, when it comes to the manifest level, and that's where all these gunas take place. They pass through these gunas. Like the way the bright sunlight is there, passes through the prism, then it becomes various colors, Vibhyar colors. So same way, it passes through the gunas to become to the world outside. I always say this way that when you are experiencing the love, that is something which is absolutely pure. But only thing is when it comes to the expression, you should be careful about the world outside. Is the world outside prepared for the expression? Or what kind of expression the world looks at for you? So all these things and what way, what measure, all these things are required at the expression level, but not at the experience of love. If love alone is there at that point of time, that's supposed to be Parama Prema Rupa. That's what is the supreme love. Whereas when it comes to the expression level, when it passes through various gunas, like the way that same consciousness which is there, when it manifests in the form of a plant, you see that it divides that one aspect of consciousness. Some aspect of consciousness become the roots, some consciousness becomes the trunk, and something becomes flower in the foliage. That means basically that something is tamasic, something is rajasic, something is sattvic. It's a division takes place there. Similarly, an individual is also like that same consciousness which is there, and when it becomes the body, then it comes in the form of the cells which are at the feet level, the some which are at the middle part of the body, and some at the intelligence level, the thinking, planning, scheming, and all that. So like that, it divides itself into various three gunas. So that's why he says that Anirvachaniyam prema swarupam mukha swatanavatu. But later on, when it comes to the manifest level, that is what is 56th sutra says, Gauni Tridha Gunabheda Tartadi Bhedatva. But before that, he gives us the 55th sutra. Let me just go a little bit more into that. Tat prapya tadeva avalokayati, tadeva shnoti, tadeva bhashayati, tadeva chintayati. Often people call this as that Tadeva is supposed to be God. It's not a question of God, but it is a question of that you look at everything out of love. That is what last time also I was just trying to emphasize on that. A person who looks at the sun going around the moon going around the earth feels that that moon is in love with the earth, so therefore it is going around. Similarly, earth is going around the sun. The expression is that there is a beautiful romance of love that's going on between the earth and the moon, earth and the sun. So therefore, that everywhere that you can see that the apple is pulled down by the earth, the gravity, and gravity is also nothing but another a beautiful attraction between the earth on the fruit that it has come. It just wants to assimilate itself into that. This is what is love. Would like to include it into itself. This is the idea of love. So therefore, when such a person who has experienced that idea of love holds on to that love, when you hold on to that, tadeva avalokayati, tadeva, that's what he only sees, and tadeva avalokayati, tadeva shrunoti, whatever that he hears only the love aspect of it behind it. Tadeva bhashayati, only thing is what he sees is that he speaks about only that, and tadeva chintayati, even chintana, that's going on about love alone. Nothing else is there. Everything is that in the form of love that appears to him. And it is like the way that when there is a passion for that, when you are caught up in that particular thing, that alone that you see, like you said that for a hungry man, that all that everything triggers him like the way that it is food. So everything that he looks at is the food. And every place looks like a restaurant because he's hungry. So therefore, it is the way that you look at it, and that enhances the whole thing in the form of love. And love itself makes a total sense of satisfaction. That's why when you are in the state of love, things look wonderful, things look extraordinary. It is actually the expression of the divinity, the whole oneness, and that's what gives the expression in feeling that everything in the form of a love that you see. Tadeva avalokayati. So avalochana, that means to say that normally whatever that you see is that loka. That means basically the world outside. Whereas the avaloka, that means is the way that you look through the spectrum, through the prism of love, then it looks a different color. It looks different shape. Last time I was saying that how everything looks really lovely and beautiful. I also gave earlier an example where the professor from USA, when he came to Prashanti, by that time he was in love with Shastriji, the talks and everything. Until that time, he had a complaint about India, complaint about everything. And that day, very naturally, while evening going for a walk in Prashanti, he says, Raghu, India is such a beautiful country. It just suddenly changed his whole perception. India is such a beautiful country. Particularly, he said, Calcutta is so lovely. I was really taken aback. And he had, minutes before, he had total complaint about Calcutta. Now he says Calcutta is beautiful. And he says, explanation also gives an explanation why it is beautiful. He said that so many people, so many vehicles, so many things going move, but everything is going on. Everything is going on. That's the beauty of Calcutta. Nobody stops, nobody can this thing, and it just goes on. Only in Calcutta it is possible. So all that shows that what otherwise was he was not seeing, suddenly he starts seeing that. So this is something which is very, very important about that, saying that at the consciousness level, there is no question of discrimination. Unfortunately, that's why at the consciousness level, we have at the God level, we don't have separation between good and bad, right and wrong, birth and death. We have the same God who gives the birth, who gives the death also. Unfortunately, what happened, many religions and sometimes even our own religion also attributes God to the good thing and bad is left out. Similarly, birth is attributed to God, the death is left out. Then you have to find out a source for the death, source for the bad. So therefore that you have to create a demon, you have to create a Saturn. So therefore they have created a Saturn. So one is good and the other is bad. One takes care of it and the other is destroys it. So this is how we have different differentiation comes at the level of when they come to the intellect level. Intellect level, it divides. Intellect has a purpose to divide. So it's the very function of intellect is that. So therefore I said that when you are in the state of love, don't bring in the intellect, because intellect purpose is to separate, divide. So once you come from the bhavana level down to the manifested level, at the manifestation level, there are three gunas. Gauni Tritha, Guna Bhedat, Arthadi Bhedatva. There are different varieties of things that are there, where the Bheda, according to the gunas, it will take place. One very important guna that takes place is the way that we express. The way that you express itself is basically sattvic, either rajasic or tamasic. Or it may be the kind of the conversation that you develop, the feel. Also, the feeling is also because when it comes to the expression level, you see that it can be in different ways. Similarly, that artha di vedatva, that means whatever that you desire for, whatever you are looking for, they're all at the Gauni level, they're at the manifest level. So therefore, there are also differences. So what is the differences that are there? Sattvic bhakti, rajasic bhakti, tamasic bhakti. Sattvic bhakti is that kind of bhakti where he is looking for looking for heaven, looking for moksha, all these things that he is looking for. But you know what? Whether it is heaven or moksha, or he is looking for happiness, he is looking for health. But all these things belong to the world outside. They're all in the Sattva. Wonderful. For Sattva, they're okay. They're wonderful, but they are not the divinity, only the idea. They are at the manifest level. So therefore, at the manifest level, there is happiness. Manifest level, there is even the heaven that people think of. What is this heaven and hell when we think of it? It's nothing but human construct. It's only our mind. That means whatever that we are getting here, enhancement of that is what is supposed to be heaven. Like for example, that I work hard to see that I get something here, and we have a heaven where there is a kalpavruksha. That means you don't have to work. You just sit under that, you think of it, and then it appears in front of you. Yeah, that is our own desire that we don't want to do anything, but then we get the money. Yeah, who will not be happy when somebody gives it without your doing work? So we'll all be happy. So that is what is the heaven that we are looking at. Like that, everybody's heaven depends upon whatever that they look for. Like for example, that in the plains in India, that people are suffering because of the summer heat and all those things. So therefore, their heaven is a very cool place. Whereas the same thing, people in Tibet, that their heaven, their Swarga is supposed to be warm place. In fact, in the cold countries, that's why that they feel that if it is something warm, it is wonderful. So that's why they have created this language also, warm welcome. If they say warm welcome, that we can understand in Western countries, because Western countries, there's so much of cold. Many times it is -4, 5, -10, -15. Naturally, that one requires to be warm. And you want a welcome guest to be warm welcome, that's okay. But I don't see people in Vijayawada, in places like Guntur, which is supposed to be burning sun. And there also, they make an announcement, warm welcome to the guest who comes. I don't know what is that kind of warm welcome. It's basically whatever that phrase that Western people have given, that we use the same phrase. But otherwise, we use the way that with intelligence, that we try to say that, no, we are giving a cool welcome. They feel that cool means that you do not pay any attention to him. You do not respect him. That's why he is very cool about it. See, coolness in West countries is something who you hate it. Or warm is something that you like it. That's why the welcome is very cool. That means to say basically he did not care for you. He has been very cool to me. That means he did not care for me. So this cool and warmth is something like that. Heaven we have created various things like that, apsaras that we created. Basically that everybody has that idea of having the companion of that nature, and then these apsaras to be young, ever for 18 years, never there, the women never grow. That's what we can see, that even in the case of Arjuna, when he went to the heaven, and there Urvashi says that he can marry. I'm always young, 18 years. So therefore, basically, and another thing is that they're always virgin. So these are all the things which are there, basically your own ambitions, what you did not get. In fact, that's why in Islam, basically, that they prohibit them drinking liquor, but then their heaven, the liquor will be flowing in the river. So here actually liquor goes into you, but there you get into the liquor. So that's what is the way that they have created. Everybody is created like that. We also have created so many things like that. Like, for example, the soul goes through the journey. And what kind of a journey? Yes, like the way that you go to Delhi, you go through all kinds of hardships and all that. The same way that they imagine about the soul also going through that Vaitarani river, and then crossing this, crossing that, and then there, that will be there. Why is all those things is basically that you create the whole picture there. So your desire is to go through all this picture. So this is what is the Sattvic Bhakti. But again, Sattvic Bhakti is not the pure Bhakti, because it is always quoted by the Sattva. And here also that the whether you go to the God or you, without even idea of God, that you think of all those things for God, etc. It's all enhanced state of the world here. It is improved state of the world here. And we are trying to improve in the world also. It is like that. Therefore, basically that even the advertisement you see, that it is happiness is supposed to be improved state of world. Better mixie, better car, better this thing will give you happier. In fact, I was looking at one advertisement of car advertisement. It says ultimate in human happiness. And then a model of car came. Wow. Again, that you look at the human happiness in the world outside. Therefore, that's ultimate. There is nothing. And then actually 1 year later that I saw the same advertisement, now we have improved the model. That means ultimate also they can improve. So these are all the things which show about the way that how the Gauni Bhakti is talking about these things. What are your desires? What are your ambitions for? Whereas the same thing, Rajasic Bhakti, it is more of Rajasic activity. Basically Rajasic activity is you do something, you do hard work, you see that you achieve so many things. So a Rajasic Bhakti is a person that he goes to achieve big kingdom, big this thing, big riches, and big papers publication. All these things are supposed to be Rajasic person's requirements. And he goes to God, fine. That means basically that idea is, you see, this very important aspect here in this is that always it's a journey into an unknown, into an area where you don't know. You are going through that unknown area. So unknown journey, a journey into unknown will add tension to you, will add stress to you. So therefore what we do to give up that stress, we have a God, and then we offer it to the God. Oh God, make me to get the best marks in the college, makes me to this papers to be cleared, makes us, including this Chandrayaan, let it go successfully. All these things are nothing but Rajasic, in the sense that you are doing something. Actually, because the Rajasic man does not give up doing, he will still do it. But whatever he does, he doesn't want to own the ownership of doing it. He says that, yes, God is there with me. This is where Rajasic Bhakti. In fact, there's a very small little story to show about this Rajasic Bhakti. Swami Chinmanda used to say that. It's a very beautiful thing. A fellow came to a ashram, and he was walking through the fields. He was walking in the village, and then he saw an ashram. The tired, hot sun is there, so he went into the ashram to take shelter. And then it was lunch time, so they said, "Come on, why don't you have lunch?" So he had lunch. After that, "Why don't you sleep here, rest here?" So he rested because he was tired. "Okay, evening I can go." But then evening he got up and said that, rather than going, yeah, they said, "Why do you want to go now? Have food here and then stay tonight, and then tomorrow you can go." And that's not a bad idea. So he stayed there. He had the food there, and then all this. And the next morning when he got up, he wanted to go. I said, that, "Where do you want to go? Why do you want to go? Have breakfast and you stay for lunch." So continued. Second day, third day. Nobody asked him money. Nobody asked him anything. So he's been there. Everything is given. But a Rajasic person basically wants to do something. So therefore he said that, I'm taking here food and I'm staying here and all those things. I should be actually doing something. Then the Swamiji said that you don't have to, everything is God given. That's all. God has given everything and you are having it. So you don't have to worry about it. So, no, but I have to do something, contribute something. So, yes, fine, that's right. And he said, "What you want to do?" I said, I do telling work. So he went in the evening outside. He found that there's so much of land which is totally not actually put to use. No farming was done. It was barren. He said, "I would like to make use of my this thing and that." The Swami said, "Yes, God is great. God has given all those things. Great. You would like to do it, do it." Then he went outside and then he selected one plot, a few acres of land. And he saw that land is something which is not touched by anybody from the time the earth is created. So therefore, a lot of work is there. So he felt very happy. And then he started doing all that work. And then timely rains have come, nice, wonderful seeds were provided by the ashram, all those things. And the crops have come. And then he was very happy standing there looking at the crop. The Swamiji was going for a walk in the evening. Suddenly he found out Swamiji was walking, so he went to him, brought him to the field and said, "Swamiji, look at all these things, how the things have developed." He said, "Yes, God is great." But then he was itching actually, because God is great, but then Swamiji never said that it is something that he has done. He said, "Look at this land which is developed. I have put all these things, and timely, nice rain has come, and then seeds were there. Therefore, crop has come so beautiful." Again, Swamiji said, "God is great." For everything, he is saying God is great. And then he was really feeling very bad because he is not acknowledging him. Now he could not hold any longer. He said, "Swamiji, look at the other land. It's barren. And look at this land. Here, there also God is there. Here, God bless me. I am also there. So I have done something." This is what is Rajasic idea. Rajasic idea is that at the deep inside, there is always a feeling that I have done it. Even though they go to the God to see that achievement is there, but still that their contribution is still there. Their presence is there. This is what is Rajasic activity. Rajasic activity is more violent compared to the Sattvic. And then Tamasic activity, you see that there are so many things that Tamasic people who are there. And their whole Tamasic idea is very limited, very simple, saying that somebody should be suffering, something has to happen. And these are all the only things that is there within them, nothing more than that. But even further, they only go to the God. So this is what is the way that they have the bhakti. But what is happening is, even though that their desires are much attached to the world outside, they're ultimately one day or the other that they can all see that the ego can get dissolved and then they become divinity themselves. There's a possibility of that happening. Not only that about this activity, artha de bhedatva, but also the way that they do the practices, the kind of gods, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic. There are some people who really like only sattvic kind of gods. There are some gods which are there, when you look at it, you feel like don't accepting them like God. God can be like that? A dark figure and then a tongue coming out with a red tongue coming out and then hands, some big sword, something like that. How can you take him to be God? I take her to be God. So that means to say, for me, the simple God is something which is very pleasant looking, soft and gentle and all that. So that means whatever that appeals to you is also sattvic. What is the way that you do the activity? Also sattvic. For somebody, it is rajasic. But we look at the way that there are so many villagers who do the practice of village goddess practices, which are those gods, and they're very simple kind of a thing, not a whole lot of philosophy behind it. Fine, that's also all right. There is nothing wrong about it. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. That's why we have such a beautiful, and the sadhana also, the method of practice also, it is so different. Sattvic person would like to sit down and meditate, calm down, peaceful, and he wants peace around him. Whereas Rajasic person is not like that. He would like to dance, he would like to run around, he would like to shout, he would like to have a lot of music. Whereas Tamasic person are the persons who are much more violent than that. Most of our village workers, village worship developed on the Tamasic grounds. But then you look at that, their surrender to the God is something which is very important. Surrender of the ego is something which is very important. But then the means that they adopt for practice of that bhakti is so violent. So violent from the point of view of sattvic approach. Because when you are with the sattvic mind, you can't accept that as the one that is supposed to practice, unless until you realize that all these three things are the divisions at the level of manifestation. Whereas unmanifest level, that's where the bhakti is. That's where the consciousness is there. If you realize that, then you will not have a complaint about it. Yes, you may not participate, but you will have no complaint about it. In fact, long time back in Prashanti, we were thinking of doing some research on these people that they do all kinds of what kind of an act which is supposed to be humanly not possible kind of act. So, and then they were thinking that, people pierce their tongue, this, that. How do they do it? In the devotion, they can do it. But then really it happens. It really doesn't hurt at all that. We want to do some experiments on that. We were driving in the car. So this idea, we were thinking about it. Then we thought that somebody, somewhere in some village, something like that is going on. Some jatra is going on, where all these things will be there. Somebody gave us information. So we were discussing and asked the driver, so, hey, can you stay tomorrow? Because that was supposed to be weekend. You stay tomorrow, the weekend, and then so that you take us to that place. Then he vehemently rejected it. No, I'm not going to stay because I have very important work to go. He asked him that, what is that? You can that postpone it. No, I can't postpone it next week. It has to happen this way itself. In fact, today I go back to I leave the car in the garage, and then I go to my village. I have to go. It's absolutely necessary. So why? Then he said that I have to apply lock on my mouth. He said, it's in Sanskrit. In colloquial Kannada, he said that biga hakskolokopendo, want to put a lock to my mouth. He said, first I said, what do you mean by putting lock to the mouth? He said, the jatra is happening, and jatra, that they will put the nail across the throat, your mouth, across the cheeks, and then they lock it. So I want to do that. What we were talking about, he was going to do that, and we didn't know that that's happening. Wow, you do all these things in a village? Yeah, a lot of these things. Then immediately we said, okay, you go ahead. But whoever is the head of the village, that religious people who do it, we would like to meet them. So our people went there and met them. And then they said that they would come to, we requested them to come to Prashanti. They said, our own gods should come there. So they have They have brought their own gods and their own method of practices, whatever it is. And then we arranged them in Prashanti at that time at our center. I was so amazed their kind of the worship that they have. It was something which is exciting. See, what they do is that they have one, of course, this uh, fire will be there, almost like about 50 feet length of pit full with cinders. It's burning fire. And then people walk on that. They have that god on their head and then they carry it and then walk. And you see that there is no blisters on their feet. This is the kind of worship that they do it. Wow, that itself was something which was really frightening us. But added to that, they have so many other things also. Like what wonderful thing that they have done is that each one of them used to come and that something like an ecstasy, sit down. And there was some leader of the group, he was there. He would take a fresh coconut, break it on his head. And hitting a coconut on the head itself, you can't just imagine. And that now he hit it such a way that the coconut breaks. It's not one coconut, 4, 5, 6, 7 coconuts that he was breaking on the head. All that is the way that they do the worship. A tamasic person will do the worship of that particular nature. That was revealing for us. And after that, we took him to the lab and tried to find out what happened to his brain because so many coconuts broke in his head. Nothing really happened. He was very comfortable. He was easy. He was normal. And the brain studies also show nothing is really damage is done. It is extraordinary. So these are the different kind of tamasic practices are there, rajasic practices are there, sattvic practices are there. But the only thing is that they may not appeal to you. You may not want to do that, but because that whatever your nature, that you do it. So therefore, a sattvic person will go by the sattvic kind of practices. A Brahmin, that's why we have the story of Beda Kannappa. A saint happened to go to a forest and then where he saw Shiva's image and fully filled with blood and flesh and all those things. He said, my God, who are these people? And there is liquor. He said, who are the people who spoiled all these things? That he washed all those things, cleaned the whole thing, and now Shiva is clean. And he spent about 3-4 hours on that. After that, he collected fresh flowers. He did the puja, put the flowers on Shiva. Now he looks beautiful. Fine. And next day, once again, he came back to the temple. He found again the blood was there, again the liquor was there, all that was there. My God, once again, somebody really spoiled the whole Shiva. So he had a very disgusting kind of a feeling. And then he said that whoever is that, he must be a great sinner. Then he heard Shiva's voice saying that don't say anything about him. He's a greater bhakta than you are. He couldn't understand what do you mean by the greater bhakta because he thought that himself to be great bhakta. But then this person is greater than him. And then he said, why do you say that? And Shiva's voice came to him and appeared. He said, wait, you see that. You sit on the top of the tree and watch what will happen. So he cleaned the whole place, put the nice fresh flowers and then dhoop sticks and all that, fragrance. And then he was sitting on the top of the tree. And then this fellow comes, one hunter comes, and then he probably killed a deer and then brought that and brought the meat. He looked at Shiva and said, what is this nonsense? All these flowers and this and that. It's so horrible. He removes all that and puts the blood and this and that and liquor. And then after all those things, he was dancing. When this priest was seeing all that, he was feeling so sad, so bad, so disturbed. He said, in order to see this, Shiva made me to sit on top here. This is something I cannot just accept it. But afterwards, by the time that he was about to feel that way completely, because he wasted his time, at that point of time, suddenly he saw that Shiva's eyes, blood was coming out. And this hunter, he was there, he said, oh Shiva, the blood is coming out of your eye. You are supposed to take care of the world. No, you should have good eyes. You should not have this sick eye. I have 2 eyes. Why not I give my eye to you? Because one eye, I can manage with that. Then he plucked his eye and then put it there in Shiva's place. And then that eye is repaired. He was so happy. He said, "Wow, I could make your eye without bleeding. It was so beautiful, so nice." But by the time the second eye was started bleeding, the first eye itself, when this priest saw that, he could not stand it. He was shivering with the fear. And now the second eye started bleeding. I said, "Shiva, your second eye is bleeding. How horrible it is. And then you should have good eye. You will take care of me if you have to both the eyes intact. I may not have eyes. I don't require eyes if you are taking care of me. But then how to take out this eye, where to keep it?" So he keeps his foot on the place where the Shiva's eye is there, takes out his eye, and then replaces in Shiva's eye. And when he saw that, the priest could not hold himself. He comes down and falls at the feet of this Bedar Kannappa, says that you are a great bhakta. So that means to say there are tamasic bhakti, rajasic bhakti, sattvic bhakti. Practices, they are there. The practices may be different, but then it does not mean that bhakti level is different. All these three people, in fact, on the other hand, I would say that a sattvic person, when he does the bhakti, sattvic ego, he will have it. Rajasic person may have rajasic ego. Tamasic person may have tamasic ego. Of all these things, sattvic ego is something which is more difficult to get rid of it. Unless until that you are very careful, you cannot come out of that your ego. Your practices, you feel that ego. A priest was going to, in a temple, he was praying. And then one fellow came, an ordinary, uneducated kind of a person. And then he said, "What is this? I read so much of Sanskrit. I have so many stotras, stutis, and all that. I stand in front of God. I do all kinds of things. And what can you do? What way that God can be pleased with you?" He said, "I don't know. You don't know anything." "Yes, I have not read Sanskrit. I have not read any of these scriptures, whatever that you said." "But then how do you do the prayer?" He just stood in front of God, folded his hand, and he said all the alphabets, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, like that, whatever that vernacular that was there. Said, "What is that you gave the alphabets?" He said, "Very simple thing." I said, "I don't know any of these things, arrangement of alphabets, because I never read anything very, school, writing a poetry, or understanding or memorizing the shlokas and all that. God, I just offer it to you, all these letters. You arrange yourself so that I'll be happy with that." You leave everything to the God. A tamasic person is somebody who leaves everything to the God. That's how it happens. So Sattva Tamas, the Gauni Tritha, Gunapedat, Artatipedatva. Our desires are Sattva Tamas, our practices are Tamas, and the way that you communicate also will be Sattva Tamas. In fact, when people are in love, the way that they communicate, you can see that there is so much of difference. A sattvic person's communication is soft, gentle, etc., etc., a very polished. A rajasic person is not like that. In fact, I had a very young couple who were there in USA. I was there in their house. And right from the morning, beginning to then, they were only shouting at each other. They are blaming each other. And they said that they are in love with each other. And the way that they would interacting was something like that. I was feeling that they are fighting with each other. Small little simple things. He said, "Where is that pressure cooker?" He said, "You find out for yourself. And you kept it somewhere. You find out for me." And all that. And after about 15 minutes of argument, then he said the pressure cooker is there at the top. Then immediately she started shouting, "You know where the pressure cooker? Why did you not tell me early?" All these things. And I said, if you fight like this, how are you going to live with a life? But actually 6 months later, they got married. And they continued to fight, but then they had a wonderful family together. That's a different way. That's a Rajasic way, Sattvic way, Tamasic way. Even the communication that they do can be different ways. It's not the same thing. Sattvic, Rajasic, Tamasic. Objects can be different. The purpose can be different. But all these things are in the world outside. In fact, when you look at all these things, you're assessing based on the material world outside, not behind that. A person who is really understood the love itself is a person who sees deep inside, behind all these things, that what is there, the pure love, that is there which he understands. So, Gauni Tirtha, Gunavedat, arthadi bhedatva uttarasmat purva purva shreyaya bhavati. There's one aspect about this uttarasmat purva purva shreyaya bhavati. It's a very simple thing which we have in our scriptures very clearly. It mentions this way that, like, for example, somebody is sleeping and you got to wake him up. A very simple idea that you try to wake him up is that you just make a very gentle sound. You said, "Can you wake up? Can you get up? It's time for you." But if that person doesn't listen to it, then you try to use next harsher way of waking him up. That is, you shake him, or you increase your voice, and then you do that. But if something which doesn't even answer that, then you have to go to the next level. So that means to say, uttarasmat purva pura shreyaya bhavati. That means to say, for a sattvic person, don't directly go to the tamasic ways. When I was in the engineering college, in my hostel, I had a colleague, friend, and he came to me with alarm timepiece and said, "Raghuram, wake me up in the morning at 6 o'clock. And I leave the alarm timepiece." I said, "No, don't worry about it. The whole hostel wakes up at 6 o'clock. What is the difficulty in waking up at 6 o'clock? At that you have an alarm timepiece. You switch it on and then you can get up. In fact, I don't need an alarm. If you want me to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning or night, 4 o'clock in the morning, I can wake up, Brahma Muhurta, and I can go back to sleep if I have to go back. All that is, I just need to make one decision in my mind. I have to get up at 4 o'clock to wake you up. That's all simple thing. I can wake you up. So, you have an alarm timepiece. You don't have to give it to me. I can wake up at 6 o'clock, wake you up. But why do you want to give it to me? Why don't you use that? He said, "Raghuram, your case is different. My case is different. You think of in your mind to get up at 4 o'clock, you can get up. For me, this alarm timepiece doesn't work. So I'm asking you so that you are athletic, you are strong. You can enter into my room, pull me out of my bed, push me into the bathroom, and start the shower. I wake up." That means tamasic way of waking up. So somebody's rising to the spirituality can be tamasic way, but tamasic way is more dangerous if you start applying tamasic way to everybody. Whereas rajasic way is less dangerous. Sattvic way is much less dangerous, easy. So therefore, basically, uttarasmat, purva purva, shreyaya bhavati. There are various ways that you do it, but then all these things can be divided into these things. Now look at the way that the goals are sattva rajas tamas, methodology is sattva rajas tamas, the practices are sattva rajas tamas, and these are all supposed to be gauni bhakti. These are the things which are made bhakti practice. Now this can be right from the level of love all the way to the bhakti. That's why love transaction can be like that. The bhakti transaction, it can be like that. At every level, it can exist in that way. So that is the reason why this Narada says about this. But very important thing is feel inside the pure love itself. Don't taint that love, don't disturb that love. Only thing is when it comes to the manifestation level, you see that your love manifests in the form of whatever sattva rajas tamas, your nature and the nature outside, the way that society can accept it, you take it that way. So this is the way that he says, Anyasmat saulabdham bhaktav. Next sutra, Anyasmat.
Raghuramji, before
Yeah.
you move on,
Yeah,
you were talking about the tamasic bhakti in the village side,
right.
Raghuramji. So how come they are not getting if they are piercing one cheek to another, or
Yeah.
piercing the tongue or something, how come they don't have that pain or the blisters in the leg? It's
Actually, they are not at the body level. They are completely identified themselves with the consciousness. They are not at the body level. So if you are at the body level, then you feel the pain, you feel the suffering and all that. Actually, after that, when we saw that, there was no kind of even a small little mark on the cheek that the nail has passed through, that kind of a thing. Even that's not there. That means the way body has itself an ability to heal. You just leave the body alone. So they can leave the body alone, and therefore they could heal. They could come out of that. That was a kind of tamasic person could easily come out of that way, because that his devotion is the one which makes him to come out of it. But then the practice are tamasic way that they do the practices.
So they enter into that meditative focus state.
Yes, actually, it's a wrong. The idea of meditation, we think, is sitting and meditating. It is not like that actually. When you are identified yourself with the consciousness, you are not at the body level. You are only at the bliss level. That's what is the kind of meditation. You may be doing any activity. That's why earlier that I had given one example of, our cook's son. He was playing and there was a cut on his knee. He was happily playing, blissfully playing. He was in that meditative state, or you call it as meditation. His body consciousness was not there. He was not Annamaya Kosha, he was Anandamaya Kosha. Only when the mother caught hold of him and showed him that, look, your knee, blood is coming out. Then he looked at the knee and said, it's paining, will lift me up. For half an hour, 45 minutes, he was playing. And that time he did not have any pain. But now he suddenly feels the pain. That means he comes to the body level. So they were also not at the body level. They're free from the body level. That's what has happened. Actually, in Patanjali gives us the idea saying that you can reach that state with various things like meditation can give you, or the way that you are, sometimes a drug can give you, sometimes some herbs can give you. Manimantra Aushade Bhyam, all those things can give you. Like that, Patanjali gives us the Patanjali Yoga Sutras. So that is the reason why some of the people use as bhang to reach that state of body apartness.
So you mentioned about Tamasic Bhakti of Kannappa Nayanar.
Yeah.
So Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was very much attached to Kali Devi, right? So Kali
Yes.
is representation of Rajasikness, or
The image of Kali is violent actually that way when you look at it. So, but he could see in that the mother aspect of it, the universal mother aspect. You see, Kali is the image where you could put the negative and positive together. Whereas otherwise, all the other goddesses like Lakshmi, Saraswati, etc., they're only pleasant, they're only soft. Durga and Kali are the images where that you can see the violence and the pleasantness. Both these things are there. Ramakrishna worked on that particular concept. Kali's idea is that. So that's why in Ramakrishna's those bhajans that are there, say, you are the violence and you are also the peace. That kind of an expression that is there. So God is both.
So his bhakti was more sattvic in nature, although he was connected with a Rajasic goddess.
Yeah, right. Rajasic form.
Wonderful.
That's why a lot of people, they have this question saying that how can Kali be the goddess, black image with a red face and tongue coming out, then dancing on Shiva itself? All that will be frightening because you put an intellect and your intellect belongs to sattva because you are educated. That's the idea.
So give an example of a Rajasic bhakti of someone, Raghuramji.
In Mahabharata, Bhima was somebody who never did any follow Krishna. Though Krishna was there with them, Arjuna was following Krishna and all that, and Bhima was. Then Krishna asked, Arjuna asked Krishna, what is it Bhima doesn't have respect for you, doesn't have devotion to you? Whereas look at me, I have so much of devotion. Then Krishna says that Bhima's devotion much more greater than yours. I said, how? I said, just look at Bhima. I can show you. And then I said, you give me the sakshatkara, the vision. And what Bhima does is he throws his mace into the sky and said, open his chest in front of the mace and said that before this mace pierces my chest, give me sakshatkara. So, wow, that was something which Arjuna could not even stand that. A Rajasic way. You demand on the God, a Rajasic way. Your demand is Rajasic. And a lot of times, Ayyappa, you see, look at the way that people go to Ayyappa. Whether you may be any big person, small person, anything, everybody wears that black cloth and then no footwear and then stays in the ashrams and walks along all the way to. It's a Rajasic activity. And then people do that. Millions of people do that. Because a lot of people are see, one of the important aspects of Rajasic quality is their karma. So they have to do that. So, because that's a part of their sadhana. 30, 40. That's why they said, once and you see that they don't have anybody to check them. Diksha, 100% they follow it.
So Raghuramji, last question. If I think
Yeah.
that while you are saying, if I feel that I'm having a Rajasic Bhakti, is it a wrong thing if I'm having a Rajasic Bhakti, and is it wrong for me to judge a Tamasic Bhakta also?
It's not wrong at all.
Okay.
It's not wrong to have Rajasic Bhakti. But at the same time, judging is somebody. It's Tamasic Bhakti. It's not judging. It's saying, recognizing that it is their nature. That's all. And we are witness to that. That's how in this culture that we have developed all those different kind of things. Whereas, we have the kind of practices which Bhairavas does, which it is Ramakrishna's bhakti. Actually, it is taken from the Shaiva, from the Devi bhakti aspect of it. Similarly, in Himalayas, that there was Shaiva Siddhanta. So, Shaiva Tantrics, Bhairava Tantrics, and then Shakti Tantrics, these three are there. They're also bhaktas, but then they are their own ways. Tamasic bhakti. These practices are different.
So, any danger for a Rajasic Bhakta to look, to check upon themselves? The ego, is it?
Yes, right. The ego is the point which really we have to come. You see, the whole idea of bhakti is to see that you surrender that ego. The God is not important. Your surrendering is very important. What God, it doesn't matter. Or whether you have a God or not is also not important. But you surrender. That's important. In Rajasic particularly, that it is more difficult to surrender the ego. Keeps that ego intact. Because the doer aspect is there and then he has to do it. I've done it. People, keep talking about. For 30 years that I've been taking every year, Diksha. Every year I'm putting the mala. So that means he's counting on that. All that will be there. But during that time when they put the mala, just look at them, that they adhere to truth. They never say anything which is untruth. And they'll be alone and then they walk with the bare feet. Oh, all those things they follow very rigorously, very strongly. That's the idea.
Namaste, Raghuramji. How do I know that I'm truly surrendering to God?
Only way that it is that you don't, all these things cannot become your ego. You start making that as your personality, as your achievement, as your identifying with that. You become peaceful. Because all these things again is away from your consciousness. Consciousness is behind all these things. Only body level, all these doing happening.
So when I surrender, it is not,
yeah.
I'm not conscious about it. That is what you mean?
Yes, what happens is that when you surrender, then you are not there. You are not,
Okay.
you are not being there. The I itself is not there.
So the blissfulness that you experience is
It's
when
no
you
more an
surrender.
experience, but it's a being.
Being. Okay.
That's why Patanjali also gives the idea of let it be as a being rather than doing.
Mm.
See, ahimsa in the beginning, that you start in the form of a doing consciously. But then he says ahimsayam pratisthayam. That means it should become like you are being, not any doing.
I don't do ahimsa to anybody, including me.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
You are ahimsa yourself.
Okay.
Then ahimsa comes out of you. Similarly, satya pratisthaya. It is not satya that you are telling, but you are established in satya.
Being mindful is in the mind level or in...
Yeah, it is still in the mind level.
Okay.
Still in the mind level. In fact, there is one physics professor, a Nobel laureate. He was very beautiful. He said something very nice. One day he said, physics will not accept it. According to physics, it's not right. Then somebody asked him the question that where in physics they said it is not acceptable. Immediately he become he was he said, exclamation, he said, I'm saying, that means physics is saying. Identification with the physics is so much that he and physics are not separate. He's a Nobel laureate level in physics. He's a genius. So that's okay. The physics is no more an ego, but physics is his being. That's the idea.
Raghuramji, I heard from someone explanation of Kalaratri. I mean, in the perspective of, Navaratri. So
Yes.
the goddess takes form of Balatripura Sundari and the mother and all. And
Yes.
Kalaratri is a representation of the dreadful night where we have to let go of all that were supporting us through our journey. Maybe
Yes.
body, mind, or our family. That's the night where we should, we leave everything. A jiva leaves everything and becomes the next 3 days of whatever the goddesses like. So all that were avalambana to us till here. That night, that's the night where Devi, sheds all her identifications, and so that is kind of very difficult part of Jiva going to next level. I heard like that.
See, what happens is that we would like to have boundaries. We would like to have boundaries. Daytime, we have all the boundaries. Look at the moment it becomes night. All the boundaries just merge into only one darkness. And the darkness itself doesn't have any source. Light, you can bring in a source, whereas darkness doesn't have a source. That's why it is difficult. That means you are entering into the sourcelessness and you are giving up all the boundaries. Any boundary, intellectual, emotional kind of boundaries that you give up. That's why it is difficult. We want to hold on to that boundary. In fact, even in your deep sleep state, is it not something all the boundaries are just dissolving? Every kind of boundary is dissolved. There is nothing which is left.
Actually, when we come out of deep sleep also, we find it very difficult to just sit also, like it takes time to come back to waking up.
Right. My friend in Germany says like that, I go and stay at his house in the early morning, 6 o'clock. His wife and myself, we get up and then prepare, get ready for the break. We are sitting at the breakfast table, having a little sip of coffee, and then we will be discussing a satsang. And then he gets up at 7 o'clock. And when he gets up, he walks to the bathroom, and then you can hear the tug, tug, tug sound, because they're all wooden floors and all that. And then he just finished bath and all that. He comes down, 7:30, comes to the breakfast table. And then he will eat breakfast without any speaking, anything like that. And then after that, we jump into his car. And his wife, she goes to her clinic, and myself and himself, we go to his clinic because I work there. And then he goes and stops the car in his garage in the hospital. And then he says, "Good morning, Raghu." I said, "What is this good morning? What happened? Hold on." He said, "No, the morning just I get up and then I do all kinds of things. But after coming here, I wake up." So when he wakes up, he says, "Good morning." So there's a gap of almost like 1 hour between waking up and getting up.
See, knowing all these methods,
Yeah.
what you said, Rajasic,
Yeah.
Tamasic, and Sattvic.
Yeah.
See, I mean, it's kind of churning in the head as
Yeah.
to what do I follow? Where what is it that I want to do? And I mean, is the question. It's
See,
more.
many times. Sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of a churning thing that is going on in your head when you are knowing more and more about these things.
Especially bhakti, you don't have to really do anything.
Okay.
Because you see, we are also not 100% pure sattvic, pure rajasic, pure tamasic. The moment that when you are in the tamasic way, those practices, those ideas will appeal to us. They attract you. It's not that you attract them. Rajasic, yes, you find Rajasic is attracting you. Sattvic can become Sattvic. That's all. It will take care of you. Only thing is, as long as you don't have any negativity about any of these things.
Mm.
Thank you, Raghuramji. Shall we continue with the next class?
Yeah, in the next class, we go to the next sutra. And what is that sutra it is? Let's see. It is Anyasmat Saulabhyam Bhaktau. You see, this what is the way that last question that he asked, which to select and what to do. You don't do it. That's what the beauty of bhakti. Anyasmat Saulabhyam Bhaktau. It is very easy in the case of bhakti, where all these complications are there, all these things are there. And as I said, that there are different desires, different these things. Don't have to worry about it. They're all there, but then easy in the case of bhakti. Why it becomes easy? In what way it is? Saulabhya, Sulabha. We'll look into that next week. We'll stop it here. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.